Hello, I'm Astronaut Bob. I'm a NASA astronaut and Air Force officer, and this summer I'm participating in the DRATs activities. DRATs is an analog for spaceflight that we perform out in the Arizona desert. This year we're looking at various different techniques that we would use to explore the geology on an asteroid or potentially back on the moon or on at Mars. So we're investigating different technologies that may be required to conduct future space missions, basically. I've got a couple of questions here that have come in. The first one is from Facebook, and it's from Frank Francia. I think I've got their last name correct. And it asks if there are robot assistants projected to operate or aid in a mission to an asteroid or at Desert Rats. And that's a great question, Frank, and it's something that we really want to achieve in the future, is a combination between the robotic precursor missions that we may perform or robotic support activities that may be performed during an actual mission to an asteroid or to the moon or another location. So we'd like to use those robotics in the ways that make the most sense and only put humans at risk when that really is critical to accomplishing the objectives of the mission. So a robotic mission that goes off to Mars and does some exploration to find a good site for the humans to visit is a great way to use a robot. Collecting samples may be a great way to use a robot. And so we want to take advantage of those things before we put humans at risk. It's a great question, and again, we really do want to take advantage of those robots whenever we can. The next couple questions I have are from Mr. Higgs' physics class from Waynesburg, Pennsylvania. And I answered some questions from this class yesterday, and I think this may be a repeat question, but based on the weather conditions that we had last night, I'd like to readdress it. It comes from Elijah, and it asks, does weather affect your training? And I would definitely have to say, yes, it does affect our training. Yesterday, in the evening, the night before we got up in the morning, we actually had some issues with the local weather. We had quite a bit of rain, and it resulted in us having to cancel training for the day. The real reason was that the spacesuits that we're working with for this training activity aren't waterproof. The electronic components are just not certified for operating in the rain, and so we needed to avoid getting them wet, and we had to cancel training for yesterday. We stood down all of our activities while they worked on our deep space habitat, which had developed some leakage overnight during the rainstorms, and so that leakage led us to actually cancel training for the day. For me particularly, I actually had some water in my sleeping location, which is pretty unpleasant. If you haven't experienced that, I wouldn't recommend it. But by the time the rain came down a little bit harder, we had quite a bit of leakage going on, but they've gotten that all squared away, and we're back in the habitat today continuing our training. This is a little bit similar to the astronaut crews that are on orbit. We have space weather. We have conditions where the sun actually emits large amounts of radiation. You may have heard of solar flares or those sorts of activities, and those solar flares are caught up in what's called space weather. And our astronauts need to avoid being outside on spacewalks when that space weather gets a little bit heavy, if you will, with the radiation dosage being high. They avoid accomplishing spacewalks. And if the space weather is really bad, lots of radiation, they may go to an area of the space station that has more radiation protection. In addition to space weather, we also have debris that's floating around on orbit, and it's a little bit like a hailstorm in space. And so we have folks at NORAD. It's an Air Force activity. It's an Air Force unit that's out there that tracks all of the debris that's in low Earth orbit, and they'll actually give the space station crew through NASA a heads up that something may be approaching close to the space station. And rather than suffer a hailstorm in the middle of the habitat on orbit, we'll actually go off and shelter in place, potentially in our rescue vehicles. And so that's two kinds of space weather, whether it's that debris or the radiation that matches up to the kind of rain conditions that we saw yesterday that led us to cancel training. Sometimes even on orbit we have to cancel training because of the weather, or cancel the mission because of the weather. The last question I have is from Zach Halverson, and it asks, does it get hot while you're wearing a spacesuit? And Zach, I will have to say, having done several spacewalks, that it does get hot sometimes in the spacesuit. Usually when you're in the direct sunlight. We have direct sunlight, and you all know what sunshine is. We also have two other kinds of shine that happen to you in space that can help warm you up a little bit. Sunshine overheats you, so that's a little bit too much for our spacesuits right now. We also have what's called earth shine. Earth shine is when you're in the light that's from the sun reflected off the earth and then back onto you. That's probably the most comfortable temperature condition that you can have in space, is that earth shine. Probably because we're from Earth, and so we're comfortable at the earth shine temperatures. The last kind of shine that you can have is actually moonshine. You can have a moonshine on Earth, and that's actually when the only light that you have to work by, other than the ones that are on your suit, is light that's reflected from the moon back on you. And I'll tell you for sure that moonshine is really cold when you're in space. It's just not adequate to keep you warmed up. So sunshine is too much, moonshine is too little, but earthshine is like the Goldilocks. It's just right for our activities when we're in space. Great questions from Frank, Elijah, and Zach, and I wish you all the best, and thank you for visiting the Desert Rats Deep Space Habitat.